his strength is in his hips, okay, powering his stomach muscles, moves his tail like a cedar, sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. So we've got this tight bond and this prominent anatomical feature, hips, stomach, tail, and thighs. Okay, so what creature has a tight bond and a prominent hip with prominent stomach muscles tied to its tail, tied to its thigh? And it turns out that of the sauropods, so the brachiosaur, he's jacked up in the front, and then the diplodocus jacked up in the back, as some of us used to say. So diplodocus and the diplodocid dinosaurs really fit this description. I mean, the recent discoveries that paleontologists have made by reconstructing and reanalyzing these bones, specifically of the diplodocids, reveals a lot of very specific, like precise connections to these passages. For example, it was the highest point on its body was the hip. That is, if he lowers his head to drink and he lowers his tail, the highest point of the core of its body was the hip. And then his hip actually functioned as a fulcrum. And unlike the original Jurassic Park 1993 movie, where they had a brachiosaur rearing up on its hind legs, it could not have done that, didn't have the anatomy to enable it to do that. But the Diplodocus did, and that's Apatosaurus and other diplodocids. They could have done that. And so they would rear up on that fulcrum or that pivot point of that hip. And it takes strong thighs, strong tail connected to the thighs, which it did have, and strong stomach muscles that connected the thigh and the hip to the front of the body. So he could balance the back of the body and the front of the body right on that hip and the rear legs, right on top of the thigh. And we're talking 30 tons. I mean, we're talking a lot of weight. You build something that's like 30 tons, with a 20-foot long, what we call a boom or extended boom, like an airplane wing, and you'll find quickly as an engineer that you have to have very stringent engineering specifications in order to get that to happen, and then get the thing to walk around. This is like a walking, airplane wing with a body, and it reproduced itself. It's just incredible design. But what we're seeing is the anatomy in these two verses, 16 and 17, really fits very well, especially where it says tail like a cedar. Now, a cedar is a tree. And of course, the Bible translation notes sometimes say hippopotamus, which the hippo's hips are not the highest part. They're kind of not prominent at all, not as high as its shoulders. Same with elephant. Elephant's hips they're there, but they're not. But it's the elephant's shoulders that are the tallest, most prominent feature. So this creature is tall in its hips, or at least prominent in its hips, or strong in its hips, and it has a tail like a tree. So yeah, sauropod, but specifically the diplodocid sauropods, I think, are what we have in view here with the behemoth.